my screen now, you can see two different tools, Trerado Designer and Trerado Collaborator. And these work together, Scott, and let me just introduce you to the platform and the pillars of the platform. So I'm going to go to this slide that's on the Trerado website, and feel free, users, to look at this and get into some more detail. But you can see that the Trerado platform is made up of three pillars: the Collaborator, the Core, and the Designer. And I've mentioned those in that order, Scott, because the Collaborator is the one that you use to view, to visualize all sorts of corporate information, whether it's, enterprise architectures, motivations, drivers, all of those stakeholders, all of those kind of things, application portfolio management. The Core is what dishes out the content. It's the kind of workhorse behind the scene, the server that's acting to integrate with other tools and also to dish out this content, both from the designer and also to Collaborate. And you can see in this image over on the left-hand side here how the three of them relate together. And you're welcome to get to look at that website and to get more information about them. But our focus today is on Designer. So we can simply click on this Open Repository button here on the site, and what's going to happen is that we're going to launch this tool. Now, people that have been using Enterprise Architect for some time will recognize that this is a very similar tool. The take-home message about this, Scott, is it's all been simplified in terms of the implementation. It's all SaaS, SaaS-driven. The licensing model is incredibly simplified. You simply purchase a license for the entire platform, and that will enable your users to be able to use both Trerado Collaborator and Trerado Designer. But let's get straight into this now and look at the Trerado Designer. I'm here on a home diagram, if you like, and this diagram has got a number of navigation cells on it, and that helps people navigate around the repository. So we have a tree view over here, which is a full list of all of the items and their relationships in the particular repository. And remember, Scott, we can have multiple repositories. It's not just one, but we can have a number of different repositories. And we can also navigate through this as well. But let's navigate through the navigation cells here. So the first thing I'm going to look at here is the business context and background. So if you're starting a new repository, very sensible place to start. I can get a preview of that, Scott, by just clicking in this little round circle there that gives me the preview. That pops up and shows me what I'm going to get if I was to launch that particular diagram or that particular part of the model. So that looks like what I want: business context and background, organization decomposition, and business strategy. Right on, that's exactly the kind of thing that I want. So let's just go in there and I double click on this icon, and there it is. That's what we saw a minute ago. Business context and background. We've got the Archysurance logo there. We've got the name of the diagram, some textual things. So don't be frightened, anyone that's looking who's typically not put text and images on diagrams. It's a very important thing to do, and you'll see in this next diagram how rich that can be. So I'm going to click through on that one, and here we've got a diagram that's describing the merger. I'm going to put this away here for a minute, this properties window. I can hide that completely. I'll just slide it over there for a bit. Actually, I might. And
if you wanted a bit more vertical space, is it possible to maximize the designer and make it full screen?
Oh, absolutely, Scott. That's a very good point. Up here in this row of icons here, we have a number of different things. This is file storage. So if you wanting to put images onto the diagram, you can store those there. But this little icon here is the full screen one, and I can put that into full screen. So yeah, that's a great tip, Scott, for people working with that. But I can also, let's look at my pan and zoom window, and I can use that to zoom in and out of that application and structure that way. So I can see that now. Now, if I look at this diagram, it's giving me lots of information. I can see kind of straight away that something's happened here. We're working from left to right. We had these three different organizations: home and away, homeowners, profit and loss, auto insurance, and legally yours, legal expense insurance. And I can look at the notes on those and see information about that. I can look at the merger, and I can get information about the merger and all of that information there is accessible, and the picture kind of tells the story. So the merger is between these three different organizations merging together. Merger's been described, and we're going into these new product offerings in our new Arc Assurance organization. This is important, Scott. This is going to form the backbone, or the context for what we're going to be looking at across a series of videos. But let's just go back now and look at this. We can just use our backtracking arrow here that backtracks us through where we've come from, like it's like a breadcrumb. And let's have a look at this organization decomposition diagram. And that's looking at Arc Assurance and the fact that we've got these locations here that are talking about where these things are located, and we've got these auto back office shared services model. Again, I'm going to click back through that, and I'm going to go into business strategy. So again, I can click on the little round one there, and I can look at what I'm going to get with the diagram. It looks exactly what I want. We've got some stakeholders, some assessments. We've got some goals there, and we've got a course of action. So let's have a look at that now. I'm going to drill into that diagram, and these are all the kind of things that you want to be modeling from a point of view of enterprise architecture, right? We're using the Archimate language here, which is the de facto language from the Open Group. Enterprise Architect has an up-to-date implementation of that language. And we can look at these notes. We've got the stakeholder there, embodies Arc Assurance executive leadership, customers defecting to competition with superior digital experiences. So that little magnifying glass, Scott, is telling us that it's an Archimate assessment, and we can look at that and we can see here some information about it. And we go down through those layers through the goals there. So higher customer retention, improve customer satisfaction, that's a goal. So we've got these kind of related to each other. And here we've got an outcome, best-in-class online customer experience. So that's what we're heading for. This outcome represents Arc Assurance's desire to deliver digital interactions that exceed customer expectations. So some kind of, some statements there that are going to be put in by the marketing team or the executive team. And as we go down through this stack, we start to get into the tangibles where the rubber hits the road. So this one here, the digital customer intimacy, we've got digital customer management that as a capability, and data-driven insurance. So if you're not familiar with these little icons in the top right-hand corner, these are coming from the Archimate languages, and the colors are representing the different Archimate layers. So these things are all in the motivation layer, and we have these other items in the strategy layer here. So all of those things are starting to tell a story, and you may look at this and think, gee, you have to understand the diagram. We can look at this kind of diagram in Collaborator, the other tool, a visualization of this, and the diagram can disappear, and all of the information on all the content, the relationships, the other information, the properties on the stakeholders can come to life. So if we look at this one here, and we've got the notes there, but we've also got other information like this primary concern, the role type, the scope, the secondary concern, and these are all drop-down lists, Scott, that are coming from a technology meta model. And we've got generic ones that we can provide, or we can tailor them for a particular organization. So these may not be your list, the costs, the risks, the growth, compliance, experience, innovation. These have been set up for Arc Assurance, but generally quite useful for any organization. The other thing is, Scott, that underneath some of these elements, it's not just we've got the notes there and those properties and things, but I can also go in here and look at a linked document. So some people prefer to look at a document view of things, and other people prefer to look at diagrammatic. So we've got this one here, and it's a document that that talks about all of these different aspects. So strategic objectives, and they're all laid out in that document.
So if your organization already has existing strategic documents or descriptive documents or requirements documents, you could easily add them to Designer?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. And even more powerful than just adding them is you can link to them. So it's quite likely that a large organization will have some kind of content management system, some repository of all of their important, strategic, operational information. Like it might be Microsoft SharePoint, it might be,
Yep.
one of the Atlassian, tools, and you can link to that in that live data and have a representation of it inside Enterprise Architect. So over here in the library, I'm just going to flick over the library in answering that question. We've got this Enterprise Architecture Governance Framework. Now, that can exist in someone's external repository, and it can just be a representation. So when I opened that document a minute ago from Enterprise Architect, that could have been actually launching from SharePoint repository, but you have a representation of it in here. So let's continue our story a little bit. We're going to backtrack now to here, and we can look at a number of different elements. So let's have a look at this this one here, business architecture overview. That looks like it might be interesting. It's phase B, and the colors are representing the parts of the ADM. So the TOGAF ADM. So let's look at that, and we'll flick up and see, oh yeah, that's talking about some sort of digital transformation, all important kind of work that people are doing inside the ArchInsurance repository. I'm going to click through on that, and we've got the diagram, the icon there, the description, the name of the diagram. We've also got these notes here, Scott, that are representing what's going on in this diagram, so people can understand what the diagram's about. And if I click on the diagram itself, it's got the notes there. This navigation diagram provides an overview of the, phase B, business, the baseline business architecture, etc. Let's click through onto this business architecture and have a look. And we go down in another layer, right? So there's, we've got this entire sort of system of navigation cells, things that allow us to completely shield people from having to look at the project browser. Now you'll have architects and all sorts of people that will want to look at these, this browser in detail, and they can do that. But you can get to things easily with these maps. So let's have a look at the value stream capability cross mapping. And again, I can click on that, and it says it launches a diagram that shows how Archimate's capabilities across product development, sales, policy management, etc. Deliver value throughout the insurance lifecycle to achieve quality products. That sounds exactly what I'm looking for. So let's click through on that. And here we can see, again, your familiarity with the Archimate language is kind of important, but it is the lingua franca, the de facto language for describing architectures. So people that are working in the architecture space will be familiar with it. And here we have a whole lot of values here, and we have this value stream, and it's got these different components. So develop products, market and sell products, manage policies and things. And if I look at the traceability, Scott, you can see that how rich that is, how connected these elements are. So it's not just a pretty picture. It's all an articulated model where things are related to each other based on their semantics and using the syntax of, in this case, the Archimate language. So very powerful. And let me just now just quickly flick over, just as an interlude. I'm going to flick back to this full screen. And I'm just going to flick to our other tool. So looking back, we've got Trerado Collaborator as well. That's another pillar in the Trerado platform. And you can see here, Scott, that we've got, these diagrams surfaced in this visualization. We did a previous video on just looking at an overview of Trerado Collaborator. But here you can see that same picture. And I can go into this picture now and, look at that. And it's right here. And the information is the same information. It's the same content. It's
and
not.
Do you get to select what information appears and in what order and how it looks?
Absolutely, Scott. So the dashboards, I can create these dashboards, and if I go back on that, you can see that I can create any number of dashboards that I want, and each individual user can have their own dashboard. A group of users, like security managers or business process analysts or enterprise architecture, information architects can have a group one, but they can also have one for themselves. And so you're creating visualizations and expressions of that. But let's go back to, I just wanted to have that interlude. Let's go back to our designer again, and let's use your trick, Scott, of putting this into full screen mode there. And we've been looking at a lot of the high level enterprise architecture things, and Enterprise Architect is absolutely, a perfect tool, platform for that. So the Trerado Designer is an incredible tool to be able to represent all of those high level architectures. But beyond that, Scott, we have got a whole lot of possibility of creating other diagrams and other visualizations. For example, a sensible place to start, in my mind, when you're starting to work with an organization and trying to figure out what the stakeholders want, is to run workshops. And we have a mind mapping capability inside Enterprise Architect that allows you to record the going-ons, the things that are being said inside a stakeholder workshop. It doesn't have to be for that, but in this case, that's what we're using it for. So we've got our Arch Assurance stakeholder analysis there. We've got all of our stakeholders that we had looked at before: the board, channel intermediaries, small businesses, household, someone representing the customer. Just click too far on that one. And again, we can see the relationship between these, and these are going to be related to some of the enterprise architecture elements, like a stakeholder drawn inside using the Archimate language. But this is a good place to start. I was just showing you that diagram, Scott, and then we can look at all sorts of other information. For example, we can look at a whiteboard diagram. Again, another high-level diagram that gets people across the line. And in my own experience, Scott, I've found that people have thought that that historically, Enterprise Architect, the tool that people have been using for many years, and now Trerado Designer is all about boring boxes and lines, but nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, the stakeholder analysis diagram there is colorful and appealing. And let's look at a whiteboard diagram, Scott. So this is trying to get a message across, and typically I've seen that people will move off to another tool to create these sort of diagrams and not realize that you can create these diagrams inside Enterprise Architect. Pretty much anything that you want to do. And the thing about that, Scott, is it's all connected. It's not it's not a separate repository of things. It's all connected.
Traceable and
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
And so
I noticed there you've got the Arch Assurance logo as well. So
yep.
On top of having a whiteboard diagram, I'm assuming that you can import, rich JPEGs and PNGs
Absolutely.
and graphics to make your diagrams look better.
Yeah, look, Scott, and that's a way that sometimes getting an organization up and running quickly, it's a good thing to do. Having these diagrams articulated with your architecture is important, but you can, yes, if you've got a series of diagrams, like you said, you could import them and just visualize them, and then go through a process of saying, look, let's convert these into diagrams that are much richer, so that like I said, you've got these these relationships between other parts of the model, and that's what the game's really about. So we're going to look at another high-level level diagram that people might use to describe things. Here's an iPhone representation. It's showing the relationship between things on the iPhone. So the interface there, the policy number, the claim types, the date and calendar things, the enter description. So this is something for someone to enter a claim. So they put their policy number in. They've had some sort of a little bingle with their car or their boat, or something's happened at home, and they can put in this claim. So they're saying, is it a vehicle, a home, travel, or legal, which again ties back to our other elements in our repository that we looked at earlier with the merger. And what this is doing, Scott, is showing the traceability back to all sorts of other parts of the model. So here we have a user story. So if you're familiar with the agile way of working, as a customer, I want to submit a claim online so that I can report an incident without visiting a branch. And this is Clara Meissner, and she's there. We've got some information about her, the goals, pain points, all sorts of other things, value to insurance, behaviours, and all of these other things that's relating to a policy information there out of a physical data model. We've got claim items and use cases, all sorts of things. But let's just quickly move on, Scott, and show that the richness. We've also got information models, so we've got a conceptual model there. So let's have a look at that. And it's a conceptual data model. You can see it's using the information engineering style of modeling, and we've got again all of these elements that have got these notes that have been displayed in that diagram. Business processes are not exempt either. We've got a whole system here to be able to look at the business process diagrams as well. But that's a bit of an overview, Scott, of Designer. And I just want to remind people that so we see the kind of full tool set. And I'll just close this guy. We look at the full tool set. We go back to what our tools are, our platform and the pillars, the Trerado Designer we looked at, and the Collaborator. The point of this, people can be working just inside Designer, and there'll be architects and business process analysts and all sorts of people working comfortably in that. But their work is not really being, I guess, exposed to a much wider audience unless they're using Trerado Collaborator, where that information is getting out to a much wider audience. And the audience doesn't need to be familiar with Archimate or all of the details of the project browser and all these things that are inside Designer that make it such a rich interface. They can just simply look at the dashboards and other tool features inside Collaborator. So there's our mind map diagram that we looked at. So we're starting to kind of see that there's a whole lot of them. We looked at this one here, and we can drill down through that. There's our business process diagram as well. But we've got all these other visualizations of things. So we've got these cards at the top that are showing information about our stakeholders, the percentage of supportive stakeholders for our agent to digital migration program, a particular course of action, disruptive potential. And of course, we can, drill down onto these things. And let's look at this one again. We looked at this in a previous video, but let's look at it again. We've got a simple pie chart. And remember, these can be pie charts, donut charts, columns, stack columns, landscape diagrams, all sorts of things. And we can look at our stakeholders now that were modeled in Designer. And, we've got this rich information about their concerns. And I can, look at these ones here that are, interested in risk or compliance or cost. Let's look at the cost one again. And, we've got this, our chart, but now we're drilling down into, who are the stakeholders that are actually making up that chart. And again, we can, drill down into these again and look at those pieces of detail. And we can see that this particular stakeholder, Chief Financial Officer, is interested in cost. And that is inside our repository here. If we come to see where that came from, and we look at we've got the TOGAF things here. Let's look at the stakeholders in this diagram here, our motivation. We've got our stakeholders, and we've got our board there, or our whatever stakeholder we want to look at. And we can look at the Chief Financial Officer, for example. Yeah, and we can look at the properties there, and you can see now that those properties that we were just looking at inside Trerado Collaborator are right here inside the tool. So that's a bit of an overview, Scott. We're going to drill in a lot more detail into Collaborator and Designer, so Trerado Collaborator and Designer that we've looked at today, and we'll explore much more about this. But I hope what the audience has got is a sense of the fact that this is both a high level tool where we can look at enterprise architectures at a very high level. So just look at the background, the context, architectural overviews. But what makes this platform so intriguing and so useful is the fact that you can drill down further than that if you want to. A stakeholder, a high-level executive, business line manager can stay up at up at this level if they want to.
Yeah.
They can say, look, I'm really just interested in, in this merger. What's going on with this merger? Let's get some of the, information about the cost of the merger, or the overlap of applications and things, and give me a cost. But if someone wants to drill down and say, well, what is the overlap? We merged, and now we've got 3 different capabilities for managing claims. And so how can we can rationalize that and view that in Collaborator and say, look, here's an opportunity to rationalize and decommission 2 of those, or maybe more of those applications, and have an incredible amount of saving. So it's not just pretty pictures. It's not just articulated models. It's a way to drive an organization to greater success. And Scott, in this climate of incredible competition and the fast-moving technology balls that are all around us, nothing could be more important than to have a very simple, succinct, and powerful way of representing the knowledge in our organisation.
Thanks, Stephen. It's been amazing to see how much power is available via a web browser, covering everything from Archimate and high-level architecture all the way down to user interface and mind maps for meetings and policy and use cases, and so many different diagrams and conceptual models all being produced and created with traceability, and then you can expose all of that information via Collaborator. So it's been amazing to see how powerful it is, all in a nice, easy web browser. So I'd like to thank our audience for joining us today. It's great to have you here learning all about Enterprise Architect Trerado, and seeing some of the pillars such as Trerado Designer and Trerado Collaborator. There'll be many more videos where we'll focus on all of the various features and drill down in a bit more detail. If you have any questions, feel free to visit sparxsystems.com, or you can reach out to Stephen if you would like assistance with training and consulting or implementation, and we'll leave his contact details in the video description below. As always, thank you very much for your contribution and your efforts today. It's been great to see it, Stephen. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Scott.